In this video, we will showcase to you all the times Godzilla was defeated in battle, either by him being killed or trapped, retreating back into the ocean critically injured, or being left in suspended animation. You know, the usual stuff that are done to defeat giant kaiju. So we all know Godzilla as one of the most iconic and most durable fictional creatures to ever be created for the big screen. And with his 30+ films, he usually comes out on top, but there are many times that he would not be seen as the victor, but rather the loser, albeit after a huge cause for the winning side, sometimes more than could be imagined. Anyway, let's dive into the many times that he lost, starting with number 1, Godzilla 1954. In his first debut, the King of the Monsters appeared for the first time as a gigantic kaiju hell-bent on destroying Japan. Godzilla was 50 meters tall and is evolved from an ancient sea animal that later became a terrestrial creature. Also, he was the product of nuclear testing in the Pacific. In his first appearance, he faced off against us humans, and most notably the JSDF. There were attempts to kill the monster with tanks and jet fighters, but they all failed, and afterwards Godzilla returns into the ocean. In the break between the attacks, the humans under Serizawa developed a new super weapon called the Oxygen Destroyer, and this was used to kill the G-Man. So in his first appearance, he was actually defeated by us humans. Number 2, Godzilla Raids Again, 1955. In the following year, another member of Godzilla's species awoken, maybe due to constant hydrogen bombing in the Pacific Ocean, and at the same time, another giant kaiju species was discovered, and this one was named Anguirus, and was later said to be a rival species of the G-Man. In this appearance, Godzilla got into a deadly fight with a quadruped monster and eventually killed him. But now Godzilla has to again fight the JSDF, and the humans were in disarray. None of their weapons could hurt the G-Man, and they even dropped bombs, but nothing happened at all. However, Godzilla was outsmarted and buried in an avalanche caused by missile fire by the JSDF fighters. Number 3, King Kong vs Godzilla 1962. So it seems that Godzilla wasn't as invincible as we all thought he was. Anyway, in 1962, Godzilla gets released from an iceberg which was formed from the avalanche that trapped him back in 1955. In this flick, he was pitched against a supercharged King Kong, who was surprisingly getting more powerful after being fed with a ton of electricity by the JSDF. They both battled, and Godzilla almost won the fight, but a lightning strike revived an almost dead King Kong and revitalized the ape to continue part 2 of the fight, which ended in both of them falling into the ocean. So while Kong came back to the shore, Godzilla disappeared and retreated, so this would be counted as another defeat. Number 4, Mothra vs Godzilla 1964. Although in the 2019 King of the Monsters movie, Mothra and Godzilla was shown as a symbiotic pair of super species, this wasn't the case with the original meeting of these two kaiju. Mothra vs Godzilla of 1964 marks the first crossover between these two great monsters. One of Mothra's eggs was discovered off the shore of Japan, but at the same time Godzilla emerges and begins rampaging across Japan, making his way straight for the egg. This resulted in Mothra showing up and battling the G-Man, but ended up being killed by him. However, 2 of Mothra's larvae hatched from the egg and used a silk spray to cocoon Godzilla and sinking him back into the ocean. Number 5, Return of Godzilla 1984. In this 1984 flick, a new Godzilla emerges from the volcano and begins his regular exercise of destruction. So in this, a Soviet submarine was destroyed in the Pacific, and they believed it was done by the Americans, and a diplomatic crisis ensues, which threatened to escalate into nuclear war. The Japanese intervened and revealed that Godzilla was behind the attacks. In this movie, the Soviets tried to nuke the G-Man but was foiled by the Americans. Japan, however, developed the Super X, an armored flying fortress. The Super X battled Godzilla but was destroyed later on. However, a homing device lured Godzilla back into a volcano, and a subsequent explosion trapped him inside it. Number 6, Godzilla and Mothra Battle for Earth 1992. In middle 1992, following the events of Godzilla vs King Ghidorah, a meteoroid crashes off the Ogasawara Trench and awakens Godzilla. In this movie, another origin story for Mothra was created, and Mothra, another flying kaiju, was introduced. So in it, the Earth created Mothra to counter an ancient civilization which changed the ecosystem and the climate, which later became uncontrollable. So Mothra awoke and fought an apocalyptic battle with Mothra, who lost the fight. In the movie, these two fought each other again but was violently interrupted by Godzilla, and they then joined forces to defeat the G-Man. Although Mothra was killed by an atomic breath, Mothra managed to pick up Godzilla and dump him back into the ocean. Number 7. Godzilla 1998. In this movie, an iguana nest is exposed to the radioactive fallout of a military nuclear test in the French Polynesian Islands, and decades later in the South Pacific Ocean, a Japanese fishing vessel is suddenly attacked by an enormous creature which, after interrogation of the survivor, the name Gojira is mentioned. Intended to be a very more realistic depiction of Godzilla, the 1998 design is a very drastic redesign to the point of looking almost nothing like the Japanese counterpart. The CGI model's appearance and stance seems to be based on the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he also didn't have the durability of the Japanese monster. After all, he was killed by air-to-ground missiles fired by jet fighters, something that would rather be an itch for other Godzillas. Number 8. Godzilla Mothra and King Ghidorah GMK 2001. In this third incarnation of Godzilla to appear in the Millennium series of films, he was a supernatural entity spawned by the restless souls of those killed in the Pacific Theater during World War II. To combat the beast, the prophet Hirotoshi Isayama awakened the three guardian monsters of Japan, which were Baragon, Mothra and King Ghidorah, in the hopes that they would defend the country. All three monsters were defeated, including the JSDF, but they did take advantage of a weakness, and with a missile strike they tore the neck of Godzilla. But he survived the blast. However, when he tried to fire his atomic breath, it instead exploded the G-Man and completely vaporized him. Number 9. Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla 2002. In yet another reboot of the Godzilla continuity, Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla reintroduces Mecha Godzilla for the Millennium series. Here, Godzilla attacks Japan in 1999, and the Japanese government dredges up the bones of the original Godzilla from 1954 and uses them to construct an anti-Godzilla weapon called Kiryu. It was sent to combat Godzilla, but the G-Man's roar awakens Godzilla's spirit within the machine, causing Kiryu to go berserk. After repairs, it was sent back into battle, disabling Godzilla's heat ray and unleashing its absolute zero cannon, chasing the G-Man away with a massive chest injury, and thus winning the battle, but with a huge cost, with Kiryu being non-functional after that. Number 10. Shin Godzilla 2016. In Shin Godzilla, it is proposed that Godzilla is some kind of prehistoric sea creature that found itself surrounded by nuclear waste on the seafloor in the 1950s and rapidly adapted to withstand it and mutate. So after coming ashore, the creature continued to evolve 3 times until it became Shin Godzilla, which was the third tallest incarnation. So it battled the US and the Japanese military and was unaffected by any kind of weaponry, even the biggest explosions. Fortunately, in the battle it expended all of its energy and became dormant. Therefore, using this weakness, a plan was executed to make him do the same again and force-feed him with a blood coagulant that would freeze him and put him in suspended animation, thus winning the battle. Number 11. Godzilla Filius in Planet of the Monsters 2017. Godzilla Filius was a version of Godzilla 20,000 years into the future and was depicted as very hostile, attacking humanity on sight rather than waiting for it to be engaged in battle. This Godzilla broke off from the original Godzilla at some point in the 21st century via cell division and ended up growing into the same height of Godzilla seen in the beginning of the movie. In the film, nothing could even touch the G-Man, and after finding a weakness, the remnants of humanity used EMP probes to disable Godzilla's shield, which protected him from everything, and once they buried themselves into the monster's body, the resulting chaos from the EMP causes Godzilla Filius to implode and kill itself. But even though he was killed, which was a defeat, the original Godzilla awakes, and that is a different story altogether. And so with that, we come to the end of the list of all the times Godzilla lost his life or was defeated in battle. If you disagree with this list, then put your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway, do like, share and subscribe for more kaiju and monster videos.